Nearly 1/8 to 1/10 of the Quran directs us to examine the verses and reflect upon creation. So, the Quran doesn't just tell us what to do, it also invites us to consider why we should do it. In response to this divine invitation, we will attempt to demonstrate the existence of God through a few of the honeybees' remarkable characteristics. Bees collect resin and sap from trees such as pines and poplars. This resin is mixed with enzymes from worker bees and undergoes a transformation process resulting in a special substance known as propolis. Carl von Frisch, in his work The Dance Language and Orientation of Bees, he revealed that bees communicate through dancing, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize for this discovery. In an experiment by Frisch, 155 out of 174 bees successfully reached the food source described through the dance within just 5 minutes. And so, we have looked at just a few features of a tiny honeybee, and we saw that the life of the bee is filled with design, calculation, system, wisdom, and inspiration. When we look at the Quran, we see that there are around 250 to 300 verses related to legal rulings, while there are approximately 750 to over 1,000 verses related to reflection and contemplation. In other words, the number of verses encouraging thought is much greater. Nearly 1/8 to 1/10 of the Quran directs us to examine the verses and reflect upon creation. So, the Quran doesn't just tell us what to do, it also invites us to consider why we should do it. In response to this divine invitation, we will attempt to demonstrate the existence of God through a few of the honeybees' remarkable characteristics. This is because the Quran encourages us to look at the signs within creation, to notice the order and wisdom embedded in the universe. And when we observe with this perspective, we clearly see how accurate the Quran's guidance truly is. Additionally, the Quran mentions 27 different animals and names 7 of its chapters after animals. This shows us that the beings in the universe are signs pointing to God's existence. Verses that say, "Will you not reflect?" or "Do you not use your reason?" are repeated calls to ponder and understand. In short, this journey through a few of the honeybee's traits will not only serve as evidence for God's existence, but will also affirm the truthfulness of the Quran. Now let's take a look at some examples. First, the substance called propolis, produced by bees. Bees collect resin and sap from trees such as pines and poplars. This resin is mixed with enzymes from worker bees and undergoes a transformation process resulting in a special substance known as propolis. Propolis has some truly fascinating properties. It's used to sterilize the entire hive thanks to its antioxidant and antibacterial effects. For instance, if a foreign object enters the hive, bees coat with propolis to neutralize it. But that's not all. Propolis is also used to treat wounds, protect sick bees, and disinfect the cells where the larvae develop. This stage is extremely delicate for the young, and even the slightest microbial contamination can be fatal. Bees also use propolis to seal cracks in the hive and create a defensive barrier against microbes that might come from outside. In short, the hive's hygiene and defense system revolves around this one substance. And here's what's truly remarkable. This substance is not just pure resin. The bee chemically transforms it using special enzymes within its own body. What modern pharmaceutical companies struggle to replicate in high-tech laboratories, the bee accomplishes flawlessly within its own body. Propolis is like a medicinal compound produced in the bee's internal factory, and it provides sterilization in the hive with incredible precision. It's as if the bee's entire life program was designed specifically for this purpose. The intricate processes carried out by the bees are not really the product of the bee itself. Rather, they are the work of a power that has inspired and programmed the bee with this knowledge and skill. The fact that all bees follow the same hygiene protocols simultaneously and uniformly points to a taught and encoded system. Just think about it. Even in today's world, with advanced medicine, modern hospitals, and high-tech equipment, deaths from contamination still occur. And yet, bees manage and hygiene of their hives with zero error. What humanity has yet to fully master after centuries of scientific advancement, bees execute flawlessly through a built-in system. This clearly shows us that the bee is part of a divine programmed design. Its actions reflect the presence of a transcendent power, one who sees, knows, and governs the system from beginning to end. Now, let's move on to the second feature. One of the most striking characteristics of bees is the communication system they have established among themselves. One of the most important studies in this field was conducted by the Australian zoologist Carl von Frisch. In his work, The Dance Language and Orientation of Bees, he revealed that bees communicate through dancing, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize for this discovery. As is well known, the inside of a beehive is completely dark, and bees are deaf. Under these conditions, a scout bee communicates the location of a food source it discovered outside by performing a dance inside the hive. But this is not just a simple movement. It includes detailed information such as the type, quantity, distance, and direction of the food. If the food source is very close, the bee performs a circular dance. But if the source is farther away, it performs a figure-8-shaped waggle dance. The vibrations produced by the abdomen during the dance indicate the distance. For example, 10 waggles in 15 seconds correspond to about 200 meters, while 5 waggles indicate around 1000 meters. Bees not only dance, but they also adjust the direction of their dance according to the sun. Even when the sun is not visible, they can still determine direction by using the angle of light, scattering through clouds and the Earth's magnetic field. All of this takes place in a dark hive among bees that lack hearing. In an experiment by Frisch, 155 out of 174 bees successfully reached the food source described through the dance within just 5 minutes. At this point, scientist Marion Stamp Dawkins makes a striking observation. What's truly remarkable is that bees behave as if they have already solved the problem beforehand. They perform their dances in darkness, on vertical surfaces, and without seeing either the sun or the food source. This suggests they are capable of angle and direction calculations, even transformations along X and A axis. Such a complex communication system, the dance language, directional orientation, and precise calculations are far too advanced to be learned through mere observation or trial and error. This clearly shows us that bees could not have learned these skills on their own. This entire system is the work of a divine power, who created them and programmed them with inspiration. Now let's take a look at the final feature. One of the most striking aspects of the perfect system in bees is their ability to locate food sources based on the position of the sun. As we know, bees use the sun as a reference point when navigating. But the sun is not stationary. It shifts 1 degree every 4 minutes. For bees, this requires precise and complex calculations. For instance, if a bee travels to a food source 10 kilometers away, it takes about 45 minutes to get there. In that time, the sun moves approximately 11 degrees. On the return journey, the bee flies more slowly due to the nectar load, which results in an additional 16.5 degree shift. That adds up to a total 27.5 degree error in direction. Such an error would prevent the bee from finding the food source or returning to the hive. But here's the remarkable part. Bees don't make this error. They anticipate the sun's movement in advance and adjust their orientation accordingly. And this is not just a matter of direction finding. It involves dozens of interrelated calculations. In fact, this level of precision is so complex that it could only be done by specialists' technical knowledge. Therefore, it's not possible to say that bees learn this process on their own through instinct or trial and error. For the system to function flawlessly, every bee must possess this knowledge from the beginning. Otherwise, no honey could be produced and the colony would collapse. All these delicate calculations show that bees do not act by their own will. Rather, they operate based on knowledge that has been inspired in them. This clearly proves that the system has been programmed by an all-knowing, all-powerful creator. And so, we have looked at just a few features of a tiny honeybee, and we saw that the life of the bee is filled with design, calculation, system, wisdom, and inspiration. In every aspect, it testifies to the existence, knowledge, and power of God. The bee doesn't speak with words, but it communicates through its behavior. And through those actions, it introduces us to its creator. In that tiny body, we witness such vast systems, such delicate calculations, and such flawless order that it became undeniably clear. Behind this order is not blind chance, but a power full of knowledge and wisdom. From the propolis it produces to the dance it performs. From using the sun for navigation to division of duties within the hive. Every detail pointed to a designed and purposeful system. And this system speaks not only to the bee, it speaks us too. Look, reflect, and understand. As the Quran says, and how many signs there is in the heavens and earth which they pass by while turning away from them. In this video, we focused on just one bee. And through its behaviors, its systems, and its precise calculations, we discovered that it's a living proof of God's existence.